What's good, y'all? This your boy Blak G 92. First of two reaction videos. Shout out to Jacoby for his reaction request. I'm gonna go ahead and do a reaction to another Wrestle with Andy documentary titled "MELLA is Money," the Carmella story, full career documentary. See what it's looking like in about 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
With the onset of the women's revolution in WWE, there was suddenly a lot of focus being placed on the work of women like Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, and Becky Lynch.
Hey.
And while each of these performers are great, they sometimes leave other superstars in their shadow, with many of these often going underrated. And one of the most underrated of her era is Carmella.
Oh, she ain't bad looking at all.
SmackDown Women's Champion, Tag Team Champion, and Money in the Bank winner, she has all the credentials to place her among the all-time greats. But how did it all happen?
Okay.
Well, join us today as we take a deep
She definitely
dive
got the
into her
credentials.
entire career journey so far in MELLA is Money, the Carmella story.
Interesting. Can't wait to hear this.
Leah Vandal was born on October 23, 1987 in Spencer, Massachusetts, and, as it happened, would actually grow up into a wrestling family. Yes, her father Paul Vandal was a local performer, and come the late 80s, would even start working as an enhancement talent for WWF, where he would appear on a number of TV tapings.
That's dope.
So, getting to see her dad on screen then, Leah would quickly fall in love with the ring, with her favorite performer at this time being Miss Elizabeth. That said, she had other interests too, as while studying at both David Prouty High School and later the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, she'd get heavily into cheerleading, something which led to her eventually taking up a position of cheerleader for the New England Patriots for 3 years between 2008 and 2010.
Okay.
After that, she'd graduate from university and move out west where, upon successfully auditioning for a spot on the Los Angeles Lakers cheerleading team, she'd spend the next year hyping the crowds during games.
Hey.
But even this wasn't enough to satisfy her, because when this role came to an end in 2011, the New England girl would get a qualification in both fitness instructing and personal training, with this ending up becoming her full-time job for a while thereafter. Still, despite enjoying her job, Leah continued to feel the itch to follow her father into the ring, and that was why, around this time, she'd make the jump and apply to be on WWE's reality show Tough Enough, a place where young prospects like Maven and Nydia had previously got their big break. But while Leah wouldn't make it onto the show then, she clearly made an impression upon someone at the company as, in 2013, she'd be scouted and signed up to a developmental contract, from there being assigned to NXT, where she would learn the ropes. And it was while in NXT that the rookie would soon be christened with the new ring name Carmella, as from there, hoping to make a quick impact, she'd make her on-screen debut on the September 4th, 2014 episode of the Black and Gold brand, portraying a Staten Island hairdresser during a segment in which Enzo Amore and Big Cass caused a ruckus at her shop. 2 weeks after this, and she'd return in the same role, now announcing that, as a result of Enzo and Cass's actions, she'd been fired, and as such, had asked William Regal for a job. So now needing to prove to the NXT general manager that she deserved the spot, she would pick up a couple of wins against Blue Pants, more commonly known now as AEW's Bates, in the weeks that followed. During the
that's a pretty simple name, Blue Pants. That's a pretty simple name.
Between the two, however, Carmella would end up losing to the enhancement talent after Enzo had unintentionally distracted her, something which led her to be understandably upset with the realest guy in the room. But this wouldn't be the end of her association with him and Big Cass as it happened, because by March of 2015, she'd get involved in the duo's ongoing beef with Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy after she'd been forced to reject the latter team's advances. So, with Carmella, Enzo, and Cass all now mending fences after finding a common enemy together, they start partnering up full-time, with the Massachusetts girl acting as a manager for them during their matches, all while they would return the favor during her bouts against the likes of Alexa Bliss, someone who had by then aligned herself with Blake and Murphy. And while the on-screen chemistry between the Staten Island princess and her two teammates was strong, off-screen, it would prove to be even stronger with Big Cass in particular as, somewhere around this point, these two would become a real-life item.
What?
In the ring, though, there wasn't any time for romance, as they would instead spend all their energy on getting the better of their chief rivals, Blake, Murphy, and Bliss, with all this leading to May 20th's TakeOver Unstoppable, where the two males in each stable would face off for the NXT Tag Team titles. Unfortunately for Carmella, though, despite being in her boy's corner that night, in the end, an interference spot from Alexa would see the heel champions retain, forcing the challengers to regroup from there, As while Enzo and Cass were busy moving on to new opponents, the former cheerleader would earn herself a shot at the NXT Women's title after winning a Battle Royal in January of 2016.
These damned commercials. I gotta sit through 2 of these bitches. Hopefully just one of them. I don't want to sit through all, well, not all of them, but both of them.
To get a little more.
I don't mind the commercial though, because it shows all the benefits and perks of ordering your groceries off online from the app on Walmart. Gotta sit through this shit too.
As it happened, though, the belt she was seeking was then being held by her real-life best friend, Bayley. That's right. Well, Bayley had become close with the rest of the 4 horsewomen, particularly Sasha Banks, during their journey of reinventing women's wrestling in WWE. She'd simultaneously developed a close bond with Carmella, with this continuing to remain strong to this day.
Okay, that's
On
dope.
screen, though, there was no love lost between the two. Instead, they'd become bitter enemies leading up to their showdown on the 10th of February episode of the Black and Yellow brand. But despite giving it her all that night, come the end of the bout, the challenger would have failed to defeat her more experienced opponent.
She
That
got
said,
ass
she had been
whooped.
able to earn the respect of the champ, and this would see them team up together for a while in the weeks that followed as they got into a short program with Eva Marie and Nia Jax. This, however, would represent the beginning of the end for the Staten Island Princess's run in NXT, as just a few weeks later, she'd make her main roster debut when she accompanied Enzo and Cass out to the ring during an NXT Tag Team title match against the Revival at March 12th's Roadblock. And after that, she'd make one final return to the Black and Gold brand when, on the May 25th episode of NXT, she'd take part in a triple threat match between her, Alexa Bliss, and Nia Jax to determine the new #1 contender to then Women's Champion, Asuka. Upon being pinned by Nia Jax here, though, Carmella would be drafted up to the main roster full-time as, starting in July of that year, she'd become a member of the SmackDown roster.
Okay.
Working as a solo act, separated from her real-life boyfriend and his tag partner, who were instead working over on Raw. And not wasting any
That's what's
time
up.
making an impact then, she'd pick up her first win on the August 9th episode of the Blue Brand after beating Natalya. From there, booking herself a spot in a 6-woman tag at SummerSlam later that month, where she teamed with Becky Lynch and Naomi to take on the trio of Alexa Bliss, Natalya, and Nikki Bella. Upon being pinned by the Bella twin that night, however, the Staten Island Princess would turn heel, sparking up a feud with Nikki afterwards, as for the next few months, the two would trade wins back and forth. And this program would still be going on at September 11th's Backlash pay-per-view when, alongside 4 other women, the two rivals would take part in a 6-pack challenge to determine the inaugural SmackDown Women's Champion.
Looks exciting.
Ultimately, though, despite putting on a valiant effort, neither Carmella nor Nikki would come out of this one the winner, with it instead being Becky Lynch who secured the honor and the title after last pinning the Massachusetts native. So, hoping to bounce back, the former cheerleader would join Team SmackDown during the 5-on-5 women's elimination match at that November's Survivor Series, all before then putting her feud with Nikki Bella to bed once and for all in a no disqualification match at December 4th's Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. But of course, it wasn't just in-ring that Carmella was making waves at this point as, around the same time, she joined the cast of the E! Entertainment reality show Total Divas, there exposing herself to an all-new audience as her personal life was explored in more detail. And as it happened, her personal life had gone through a number of changes at this point as, after having broken up with Big Cass, she'd start a relationship with commentator Corey Graves, something which turned into a recurring plot point on the show as the years went on. Back in the ring, though, her relationship with Graves wouldn't be acknowledged quite yet as, instead, the Staten Island Princess would gain an admirer in the form of James Ellsworth.
Okay.
So, deciding she found Ellsworth to be what she described as uniquely attractive, she would allow the Chinless Wonder to start accompanying her to the ring during her matches, with him even being by her side during her WrestleMania debut on April 2nd, 2017.
I'm about to watch this match.
In another 6-pack challenge for the SmackDown Women's title, she would take on Becky Lynch, Mickie James, Natalya, and Alexa Bliss, all of whom would ultimately lose to the eventual winner, Naomi. And taking this loss hard then, the heel would form an alliance with Natalya and Tamina named the Welcoming Committee soon after this, with her hope here being that, with this new added muscle by her side, she wouldn't fail next time she got a chance to win the title. Before that could happen, though, the Welcoming Committee would get into a brief feud with the trio of Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Naomi, one which led to all 6 women meeting in the ring at May 21st's Backlash where, come the end, it would be Carmella and her cronies who picked up the win. So with this experiment paying off, the Massachusetts girl would next reset her sights on the SmackDown Women's title when she entered herself into the inaugural Women's Money in the Bank ladder match at that June's titular pay-per-view. And on that night, with James Ellsworth returning to her side, she'd go on to win the whole thing, albeit in controversial fashion after her lackey had climbed the ladder and claimed the briefcase himself, only to then drop it down into her waiting arms.
Oh, I can see why it's controversial.
Some controversy as on the following episode of
Yeah, I figured it would, because you got your partner kind of just getting this briefcase of money and dropping it to you instead of you going up there and getting it yourself. But I'm sure they're gonna explain it more in this little segment right here.
It was determined that, as Ellsworth had illegally won the match for Carmella, the whole thing would have to be redone from scratch. Luckily, though, even without the benefit of her lackey climbing the ladder for her, this time, the Staten Island Princess would be able to pick up the victory again.
Now that's more like it.
The privilege of calling herself the two-time Women's Money in the Bank winner. And so, realizing that she no longer needed any backup in her corner, she would end her alliance with James Ellsworth not long after this as, now a solo act once more, she continued to be a prominent player in the Blue Brand's women's division, more often than not picking up the win and always reminding fans that she still had that title shot in her back pocket whenever she chose to use it. Biding her time before she cashed in, however, she'd spend the first few months of 2018 entering both the first ever Women's Royal Rumble in January and the Women's Battle Royal at WrestleMania 34. And although she would end up losing both of these, it didn't matter in the end because she still had that title shot card to play regardless. Eventually, though, she would have to cash in, as with the one-year time limit on the contract drawing ever closer, Carmella would begin dropping further hints towards then SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair that she was coming for her. But even with all these hints, the Queen ultimately didn't see it coming when, after she was laid out by the debuting Iconics on the April 10th, 2018 episode of The Blue Brand, the Staten Island Princess would run down the ramp to finally shoot her shot after 287 days of waiting. From there, making quick work of her beaten-down opponent and becoming the top dog on the SmackDown Women's division in the process.
Impressive.
And after that, proving herself to be a fighting champion, she would take on Charlotte in the rematch at May 6th's Backlash, retaining there, then moving on to a feud with Asuka. This, however, would end up representing her toughest challenge yet, because with the Empress of Tomorrow widely being recognized as one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time by this point, it would mean Carmella would have her work cut out for her. Still, even with all the odds seemingly stacked against her, when the time for the match between the two came at June 17th's Money in the Bank, the champion would manage to retain, albeit with a little help from a returning James Ellsworth. So, in an attempt to even the odds then, in the rematch at the following month's Extreme Rules pay-per-view, Ellsworth would be hung from a sharp edge above the ring, with the idea being that this would stop him from interfering. But, as it turned out, this still wasn't enough to get the belt off the champ as, on that night, she'd managed to do the seemingly impossible by defeating Asuka for a second time. And
that's
this
what's up.
would leave the Massachusetts girl on top of the world and feeling completely unbeatable as a result.
As expected.
For her, though, an even tougher challenge was about to come as, around this point, Becky Lynch was beginning her own meteoric rise to the top of the company. And come August 19th SummerSlam then, she would have found herself as one of Carmella's next top challengers. And we say one of, because at this pay-per-view, the champ would be forced to defend against two opponents in a triple threat match, with the other part of the equation being Charlotte Flair. And come the end of that bout, it would be the Queen who ultimately picked up the win so as to dethrone the Staten Island Princess, ending a title run which had lasted 131 days.
That's a great record, nonetheless. I mean, sometimes you can't win them all. When you're on top, eventually gonna come crashing down more, so you're gonna take some L's. I have not seen a trailer for this movie yet, but I might have to do a reaction to this one, because it looks awesome.
From there then, when the new champion moved into a feud with the man incarnation of Becky Lynch, Carmella would fall away from the title picture, instead forging an alliance with R-Truth that would see the two form a comedy double act. Yes, it was quite a change in direction from being the top dog on the SmackDown Women's division, but she threw herself into it with gusto anyway, even turning face for the first time since 2016 in the process. And riding the subsequent wave of fan popularity, both Carmella and R-Truth would officially name their team the Fabulous Truth as they took part in
Fabulous
Season 2 of
Truth.
the Mixed Match Challenge, from there eventually winning the whole thing after beating Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox in the finals at December 16th's Tables, Ladders,
I'm
and
gonna check out some
Chairs.
footage of that.
So as a prize for this victory then, both Carmella and R-Truth would earn the coveted number 30 spot in the women's and men's Royal Rumble matches respectively the next month in Phoenix, Arizona. Ultimately, though, despite being the freshest person in the ring come the end of the bout, the two-time Money in the Bank winner would be unable to reign victorious after she was eliminated by the eventual runner-up, Charlotte Flair. But even if she hadn't been able to book herself a spot in the main event of WrestleMania that night, the Staten Island Princess could take some solace in the fact that at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view 1 month later, on February 17th, 2019, she'd get to team up with Naomi to fight for the honor of becoming an inaugural Women's Tag Team Champion inside of the Chamber itself. And though she wouldn't win that one either, she would finally get another notable victory to hang her hat on when, at the WrestleMania 35 kickoff show on April 17th of that same year, she'd win the Women's Battle Royal after last eliminating Sarah Logan.
Damn,
Then with
kick
this
to the
momentum
face.
carrying her forward, the former SmackDown Women's Champion would take part in the 2019 Women's Money in the Bank ladder match at that May's titular pay-per-view. Sadly, though, while she had been hoping for a repeat of her 2 victories the prior year here, in the end, it would be her real-life best friend Bayley's turn to win the briefcase instead, with her actually going on to cash it in later that night. As far as Carmella was concerned, however, with no easy access to the SmackDown Women's title anymore, she'd instead move over to a new division, as after going through a brief feud with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, she'd defeat her on-screen partner R-Truth during an impromptu 24/7 title match on the September 23rd episode of Raw. And this would mean that, as the belt was defended on both the red and blue brands, the new champion would be able to float between shows for a while as she lost to, and then regained her title from the popular DJ Marshmello in the weeks that followed. In the end, though, this second one would only last for 2 days because, at October 6th Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, she'd be pinned by Tamina.
Damn, just back to back.
Soon after, both Carmella and R-Truth would be split up during that winner's draft, with this causing the Staten Island Princess to have to find a new tag partner as she aligned herself with Dana Brooke for a while from there. But that wasn't her long-term plan, of course, as she still had ambitions of regaining the SmackDown Women's title. So after spending the next few months fighting her way up the rankings again, she'd eventually get another shot at this in February of 2020, there getting to face off against Bayley again, though ultimately coming up short in the end. So returning to tag action, she and Dana Brooke would next set their sights on winning the women's tag titles from Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Despite having multiple opportunities to do so between then and May, however, the two challengers just couldn't pick up the win, with this causing them to eventually go their own separate ways as, come September, the former cheerleader would have morphed into a new gimmick, one which saw her refer to herself as completely untouchable. And this would even see her turn heel once more after attacking Sasha Banks on the November 6th episode of SmackDown, an incident which ultimately led to the two facing off one-on-one for the SmackDown Women's Championship at December 20th's Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. During that match, though, the boss would prove to be an unsolvable puzzle for the challenger, with this leading to her losing as, from there, she'd form another short-lived alliance, this time with Billie Kay,
Dang,
as
what's
the
up all
two
these
took part in a
alliances?
tag team turmoil match at WrestleMania 37. After that, she began calling herself the most beautiful woman in WWE, as she had her first of 3 attempts at dethroning then SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair on the July 16th episode of the Blue Brand. But after failing to win not only this one, but the subsequent 2 attempts as well,
Damn,
she
back-to-back
to Liv Morgan
L's.
on the Extreme Rules kickoff show that September.
Damn.
Luckily for her, however,
That's a bad
while
streak.
in-ring things weren't going as well as they could have. Off-screen, she was finding much more success, as earlier that year, she'd have launched her own wine label named Copo Cana.
Okay.
As well as
That's
this,
pretty cool.
with her relationship to Corey Graves continuing to deepen, the two would start their own podcast, Bear With Us, around this time too.
Wow, they got
And
a
if that wasn't
podcast.
enough, not long after the podcast started dropping, Carmella and Corey would announce their real-life engagement, with the wedding eventually coming a year later in April of 2022. But by that point,
Oh, how
WWE
sweet.
would have already acknowledged their relationship on screen as, after getting drafted to Raw and starting a gimmick which saw her wear a mask to the ring so as to protect her beautiful face, she would suddenly find herself on the same show as Graves. So with him acting as her cheerleader from there, the Staten Island Princess would form a tag team with Zelina Vega that saw the two quickly rise up the division's ranks, so much so that on the November 22nd, 2021 episode of the Red Brand, they get a shot at and ultimately defeat then women's tag team champions Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, starting their own first run on top in the process. As of April 2022, however, upon losing those titles to Sasha Banks and Naomi at WrestleMania 38, Carmella and Vega have undergone a split. And while it appears that this will lead to a feud between the two in the short term, the long-term future of the former SmackDown Women's Champion and two-time Money in the Bank holder remains unclear. Will she return to singles title contention? Will she revert to a comedy role? Or will she, as some have speculated, form a team with her husband instead, as he has been recently cleared to return to the ring himself following an 8-year retirement? Whatever happens, we can be sure of one thing, and that's that regardless of her role on the show, she'll remain a force in WWE for some time to come. Well, guys, what did you think of the video? Let us know in the comments below.
Let us know in the comments.
Don't forget to smash the like button.
All right. Yeah, that was another entertaining documentary, and yeah, MELLA had quite the career indeed, and quite a few losses, quite a few wins, especially in the tag teams and such, and had a good run with the whole Money in the Bank matches, whatever. Of course, when she linked up with someone else, it's always turned out good. For the most part, it always turns out good. Singles always been kind of hit or miss, but nonetheless, hey, I mean, she definitely accomplished a lot, not only in her professional life, but also in personal life. Married to someone that was been retired for about 8 years from the WWE. That's quite a long time to be away from the ring. So I think he's better off just, maybe better off. Well, we'll see how he performs, because 8-year hiatus is quite a long time, and a lot of things have changed. So we'll see. It's this crazy thing. Carmella's been around for 7 to 8 years, 6 on the main roster. Wait, just another talentless blonde who just hired for her looks. Not my words of being a reliable name in the women's division, but they need one of their babyface field to feel. The amount of win most of their match proven worth it. Someone can get the work done, give it a chance. Oh yeah, for sure. I agree with this comment right here. Yeah, she definitely knows how to get the work done for sure. She may not have a lot of wins, but when it's her time, she definitely performs well. So, nonetheless, if you want me to react to more of these like Wrestle with Andy documentaries or any matches that so I have to worry about getting copywritten or have a strike, whatever, be sure to post in the comment section below. Any other videos, same thing. And if it's your first time watching this reaction video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that notification button, hit that subscribe button as well. And hit me up on the social media accounts, which we post in the description box below. I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram, so you can see all my commentary on different shit. There's random stuff I see on the internet. Just hear my thoughts on different shit. If you want to see all that, they'll be posted in the description box below. And if you're able to, hit that donation link to my Cash App as well to help support your boy on this channel. And the road to the road to 25,000 subscribers is still up and running for the next 6 months. So be sure to tell your people about this channel to help this channel grow. This your boy Blak G92 about to sign off. Holla at your boy. Peace.